Hey everyone, Melanie Muenchinger here, illustrator for Gina K Designs. Today I have a new project for you with some of my favorite past sets from Gina K Designs, spring baskets, and then the coordinating set basket editions too. So these have been out a while, but what's different about today is we have replated these in clear. They've been on the website for a little while, so you may have already gotten your copy, but I just got the clear sets in at my desk. So I'm really excited about building up some playlists for you, demonstrating on my YouTube channel videos with both of these sets. So we're going to be using the basket today from Spring Basket. Another reason I'm really excited to have this over the rubber version, the plating allowed for a lot of extra greetings that I did not have room for the first time. So I'm really excited about these different sentiments. Also going to be using one of the toppers from Basket Editions too, so you can see that you've got all different occasions here that are going to work throughout the year. I'm going to be using the gardening one today because I'm really excited about spring. It's gorgeous here in Texas. And then I'm going to combine greetings from both sets. So they both have mixed fonts, and these fonts also work really nicely together. If you like this basket building concept, then be sure to check out my other Basket Edition set, as well as Holiday Basket, Beyond Basket, and Beyond Baskets too. The products that you're going to need for today's card, we're going to be using some of the Gina K Pure Luxury cardstock, and I am using the sweet corn, the Kraft, the white for my stamping, and then this is a piece of pattern paper from the Gina K Autumn Landscape collection. So a lot of different colors in this collection, and then you've got different vines, flowers, things that are going to work for different occasions around the year, not just autumn. And I actually started out coloring my image today before I picked this pattern paper. So anyway, that was a nice happy accident, but it was fun finding that flower pattern to match. Going to show you just a really simple masking technique that you can do today, as well as how to create patterns when you're not paper piecing, and it just saves you a little bit of time. The markers that we're going to be using today, I've got a bunch of Spectrum Noir markers here. We're coloring in some very tight areas though, so if you don't have alcohol markers, you could use colored pencils or water-based ones as well. But let me pull these out here. So I've got the CG4, the JG6, the TN6, and the BG3, the GG3, the CR11, the GB4, the GB8, a blender, and then the TN7 and CG3. And as we go along, just remember you don't have to have these exact colors. A light green, a yellow, a dark brown, or a gray would work just as well. So please follow along even if you don't have these exact materials. I've got a white gel pen for highlighting, and some scissors, and a pad of sticky notes for making a real simple mask. And then I've got some adhesive. All of the images that I'm using today are going to fit on this one 3.5 inch block, so that's really nice. Okay, so let's begin by stamping our image. Oh, I think I forgot to say, using the Gina K dark chocolate ink pad for all of our stamping that we're doing. So I'm going to begin by stamping my basket, and obviously you're going to need these two sets. So I'm going to begin by stamping the basket, and it comes just as it is, but there's also a handle that you can add. So the toppers are usually straight along the bottom. You're going to have to do some masking for the flowers, but I want to show you how you can add a handle really simply. So we're going to start with stamping our basket, and I like to line up the top edge of that basket with a line on my block, just so that I can have it running parallel to the bottom of my mat so that my basket doesn't look crooked. So we're going to put this here, hang on, it's not sticking. So we're going to put this here near the bottom. These are really big images, so it really fills up a card nicely. We don't need any room for the sentiment because that's going to go below. And then what I want to do is I'm going to stamp the handle right in the middle as if we're viewing the rounded handle from the side. So I'm just going to stamp that right there in the middle. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Post-it notepad, and across the top part, the sticky part, I am just going to re-stamp that, and then we're going to cut it out, and it already has the adhesive on it. And you can just stick this right back onto your little sheet for your stamps so you can have it for next time. And I'm not going around that curved edge of the woven handle. I'm just cutting it straight. But if you're really particular about it, you can. So see, this is going to just go right on there to cover that up. Whenever you're masking something, you have to stamp what's going to be in the front first and then what's going to be behind it next. So I'm going to take this garden topper here, and it's got some little gardening gloves in it, a trowel, or a little, yeah, I think it's called a trowel, the little scooper, and some gloves, some little terracotta pots and seed packets, and then a plant, an ivy. Okay, so with that covered up, then I'm just going to go ahead and see, it's a straight topper here, so I don't have to cover up that basket. So pardon my head if I get in the way. Let's put that right on. And then I'm going to peel this off. Okay, so it's perfectly masked, and I could just stick that right on top of that to use for another time. Okay, so that's all the stamping we're going to do for our image. So let's go ahead and color this really quickly. So I'm going to create a shadow here at the bottom, and I'm imagining the light coming from the top and a little bit from the right. So it's going to kind of cast out here, down here, and to the side. And just a little bit down here. And this is going to help remind you where the shadows go, and we can go back and blend this a little bit or add a little bit more of a shadow later if we want. Now let's go ahead, and I always like to work from my largest areas to the smallest areas. So I'm going to color in the main part of the basket, and I'm going to use my chisel tip since I have a large area here to fill. And then on these edges, you might want to turn it over and get your finer tip to fill in. And then I'm just going to go right down that handle. And then we're going to go over it with that darker brown so that we can accent just some of the little weaving in there. But you don't have to if you don't want to, but it's just so easy just to dot it in to all of these little vertical strips. So I'm just making a little dot. And then I'm going to show you a trick how you can go back with your blender pen to lift up just some of the squares to make them lighter. And it just gives a little bit more texture and dimension to the basket, a little more interest to your image. But it's much easier than trying to fill it all in with a lighter color and then have to go over select squares with the darker color, I think. And then you can leave your handle just the one color, or you can have it weave through. So on my handle, I intended to do every other one, and then I got off, so I just ended up filling in the whole thing. But so many different ways to do it. And then I'm going to do the same. I'm going to have it alternate here on the top. These are just so fun to color. I haven't played with this set in a while. I just love these different baskets. All these containers really have a lot of different functions. Okay, then I'm going to go back with my the GB8, and I'm just going to add just more color over to this side. So when you layer on these alcohol markers, they do get darker when you put on additional coats. And then I'm going to take the blender pen, and I'm just going to go on, and I'm just going to take it out of some of these lighter sections. And you'll see it start to fade in a moment. It's subtle, but they'll start to pop out as it dries. And what the blender pen's doing is just pushing that ink away. That step is not necessary. I just like to do it because it just adds a little bit. And you can see how it turns a little bit of a peach here on the finished card. So you'll see that continue to change. Okay, now let's go ahead, and I'm going to color in this watering can, just like a green one that we have outside. And if you want to do this with several shades of green, you can, but I'm going to be creating the highlights with the blender pen and my white gel pen today, because I want you to see you don't have to have that many markers, even if there's a lot of different things in your image. All right, now let's fill in the majority of the color on this little ivy. So I'm filling in with the real bright springy green first, and then I'm going to pick up the darker green with my other marker. So this is the CG4, so I'm going to have this in my left hand, and I'm just going to pick up just darker bits of this to put in the middle here. And you get a lot more movement of the color when you do it this way rather than dabbing it on. It'll be darker if you go straight to the paper, then you could blend it after. So there's a lot of ways to do it. I just wanted to remind y'all there's not one way to color these. Then I'm going to take my lighter green and I'm just going to color in this little pea packet. And I'll do the darker one behind it. If you wanted, you could sketch some little peas on there. And close these up. Okay, now I want to take this GG3 and I'm just going to do just around the edge of this little tool. And I'm going to take the blender and I'm just going to pull that together. A little bit more. Probably should have grabbed 2 grays, but again, I was trying to keep it so that you were doing less colors and more blending. Okay, it's a little bit brighter there on the top. Now let's do those little pots with the TN6. It's a pretty shade for terracotta. Kind of an orange peachy brown. And if you're doing a single layer card, make sure that you use some of the Gina K base weight. So normally I would be doing layering weight, but I just had a scrap of base weight on hand, but as you can see, the alcohol doesn't go through that. And then I'm going to use the GB4, I'll show you that in a minute. I'm going to use the GB4 on this glove. So I love paper piecing stamps anytime there's something that would be a material like clothing or a dress or something, and piecing that by stamping it onto a piece of pattern paper and then cutting it out and adhering it. But sometimes you just don't have time for the fussy cutting, and it's really fun to make your own little patterns. So I thought it'd be really sweet just to add some little dots to make some polka dotted gloves. And then that kind of inspired me to choose that pattern with the red. So it's just a little bit more personal, feels a little bit more artistic having that pattern on there. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of a shadow to the edge of this pot and to the inside. And then if you want to blend that, you can take this marker and just blend that right there. Okay. And then maybe we'll go and do the blender just around the edge here of this shadow just to soften it a little bit. And I forgot I wanted to add my highlights here to the can. So see how that is getting lighter? So just the top of the handle and the little, gosh, I can't think of anything today. The part you pour with, what's it called? The spout? And then just some little highlights for that white plastic, and you can put one little one on the metal. Okay, now let's go ahead and mount this onto our pattern paper. And I already adhered this to the middle of my cardstock. So let's go ahead and before I place this on here, actually I'll go ahead and put it on here. Make sure you leave enough room for that greeting at the bottom. And you can look at your paper first to see if there's a certain part that you want to have at the bottom, whether you want to have more of the red showing, more of the green showing. So I always recommend looking at it to see how it's going to fit onto your card, which color is going to be revealed when you're covering it up. So I like having, I want the red at the bottom actually. I like being able to see that red and yellow. So I'm going to put this here. So I have a smaller strip at the top. And then now I'm seeing that little red reveal to go with my gloves. And then I'm going to, you could do any one of these different ones. Sending prayers your way. I have these long greetings that look really nice with a larger basket. But I'm going to do this Hello Sunshine. And these will actually both fit on the block at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay them out face down like they're stamped, and then I'm going to press my block to it. Okay. Just like that. And then line it up on the block, and then stamp it in my dark chocolate. And that's it. These baskets and toppers are so fun. I can't wait to use these more often now that I have them in the clear, and I will be doing more videos for you with both of these sets and my other basket editions so you can get more ideas for different theme cards. I hope you enjoyed this today. Please visit my blog, Hands, Head, and Heart, for more ideas and inspiration using all of our stamp sets from Gina K Designs, and visit us at Stamp TV. And I hope you'll subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching today. God bless.